Now it is now my pleasure to introduce this year's honorary chairperson. And since tonight's theme, The Beat Goes On Loud and Clear, is about paying it forward in public education, and I honestly cannot think of a better person for this to host this evening's event. It just seemed most fitting. Since June 2012, Steve Fortenberry has invested greatly in our school district as our CFO. He has led us through budgetary challenges and a successful tax ratification election. Additionally, he graciously accepted the call when our school board asked him to serve as the interim superintendent of schools. He has effectively served in this additional role for the past several months while continuing his day job during budget season. Like the teachers in the video we saw earlier, Mr. Fortenberry, and I would say Steve to all of us, came back to Plano ISD. This is where his career began in the school finance area in 1983, and we are so glad that our district and students are benefiting from his more than 30 years of financial, strategic, and operational experience. As an excellent administrator, leader, and advocate for public schools, Steve previously served as CFO in McKinney ISD, Fort Worth ISD, and Calcasieu Parish School Board in Lake Charles, Louisiana, before coming home to Plano. Perhaps more than anyone, Mr. Fortenberry realizes the tremendous talent and effort it takes to achieve and continually raise our district's high standards while keeping it all within our means. This naturally links him to the amazing teachers that we are celebrating here tonight. Now, anyone who has spent time talking to Steve understands how important his family is to him. So among the many hats that he wears, I would be remiss if I did not mention his roles as husband, father, and especially grandfather to Christopher, Jack, Timothy, and soon a fourth grandchild, all who call him Paps. Please join me in welcoming CFO, Interim Superintendent of Schools, Honorary Teacher of the Year Chair, and Paps, Mr. Stephen Fortenberry.
Thank you, Carla. Paps is so easy to spell, too. It's 4 letters. Thank you for the introduction. As y'all can tell, I've been run out of several different places. I counted 4 or 5 there. But I did come back to the only place I never wanted to leave, and that was Plano. So I'm extremely humbled by this honor. I'll tell you a little bit more in a minute why it's so humbling to me. But just a few words of thanks first. I'd like to thank the board for allowing me the privilege that it has been to be the interim superintendent. I'd like to thank all of my fellow cabinet members. Basically, the job of the interim superintendent is the cabinet members tell you what to do and you do it. So that's pretty much it. I've also been blessed with a wonderful family, best mom and dad anybody could have, 2 wonderful kids, 3 soon to be 4 grandkids, and a wonderful wife who, after you hear me talk, you'll realize it's quite a feat that she has put up with me for 32 years. So, Becky, I love you. Would you like to stand? Please stand. If you look at her, you think, man, how did he ever get somebody that looks as good as her? But that was before she got contacts, so it's worked out good. Let me tell you a little bit about why I'm very humbled by this honor. As Carla said, I worked in Plano from 1983 to 1987, moved away and finally made my way back here 3 years ago. So by a combination of either old age or just complete good fortune, I've had the opportunity to know or at least meet a lot of people whose names I think you'll recognize. So I jotted some of these down this afternoon. Betty Hahn, Larita Hickey, John and Myrtle Hightower, Martha Hunt, Sarah Isaacs, David McCall, Dr. Sigler, Dr. Hendrick, Dr. Otto, Larry Gwynn, Alan Bird, Bill Hollifield, Keith Sockwell, Coach John Clark, and Coach Kimbrough. Do you recognize those names? Every one of them has a facility in PISD named after them. I'm proud of the fact that those aren't just names on a building, those are faces and people that I've had the great good fortune to know. Also, another reason, over the past 88 years, since 1927, Plano ISD has only had 5 superintendents. Some of our surrounding districts are not too far away, have probably gone through 5 in the last 10 years. Dr. Sigler was superintendent from 1927 till 1961. Wayne Hendrick from 1961 till 1991. Jim Surratt from 91 to 95. Dr. Otto from 95 till 2012. And then one of my best friends, Richard Matkin, from 2012 to 2015. So I've been blessed to know 4 out of those 5. The only one that I never met was Jim Surratt. So over the last 88 years, 5 superintendents, I've known 4 of those that covered 84 years. So what a great blessing that's been, and something I've just had the good fortune to see. Richard's one of my best friends, and I was also blessed even last week to have lunch with Dr. Hendrick, who will turn, I believe, 91 in about another month. So my life's been just a complete blessing. I could have never remotely thought back in 1983 when I started work here that one day I'd sit in the same chair at the board table that was occupied by Dr. Hendrick, or any of these others as well. So even if it was just for 5 months as the interim, I'm just extremely overwhelmed and really feel unworthy of that, knowing these people like I do. So these folks were all very instrumental in making Plano Plano ISD what it is today and what it's become to be. I don't think anyone would argue with the fact that they shaped lives and they impacted lives. But the real question I kind of asked myself was, did they shape my life? Did they impact my life? Maybe some of them did a little, the ones that I knew more, like Dr. Hendrick and Richard. I certainly respected all of them. I certainly learned from them, so I guess they did have some impact. But the real impact, I have to go way back beyond them. So if you'll bear with me, I want to give you the names of 6 people, besides my parents, that undoubtedly impacted my life. Little quick background first. I started first grade at R.C. Andrews Elementary School in the metropolis of Floydada, Texas. Anybody from Floydada in here? I kind of thought that. It's somewhere near Lubbock, just to give you a general direction. I started first grade there in 1966. That was 49 years ago. It's 1 year shy of a half century. That's a long time ago. I'm getting old, I guess, but my first grade teacher was Miss Lewis. The thing I remember the most about first grade, other than a little girl named Donna Reed who broke up with me, and I'm not that old, it wasn't the Donna Reed that was in It's a Wonderful Life. It was another girl named Donna Reed. Anyway, the thing I remember most about Miss Lewis's class, she had this little metal band that had 5 fingers on each hand, and she had these metal popsicle sticks, or magnetic popsicle sticks, that she stuck on those. And she'd have all 10 of them up, and I'd get to take 3 of them down, and I would then know that 10 take away 3 is 7. So Miss Lewis gave me a love for math, and I still have that love for math today. So thank you, Miss Lewis. My second grade teacher was Miss Guffey. I was still pretty upset about Donna Reed breaking up with me, so I didn't have a girlfriend that year. But Miss Guffey pounded phonics into my head, and I hated those lessons. But she gave me a love for reading, and I was able to read better because of her. She's one of the strongest reading teachers in our school. As an adult, I still love to read. I probably read anywhere from 20 to 30 novels a year. Some of them more than 100 pages, too. It's a pretty good one. So thank you, Miss Guffey. My third grade teacher was Miss Springer. She helped me through my very tragic breakup with Lori Benson that year. But she also had a class spelling bee every Friday, and while I may not have always won, I was pretty good at that. To this day, if I look at a page and there's a misspelled word, it just seems like it jumps out at me. In fact, some of the novels I've read, I've wanted to call the publisher and tell them that when I retire, I want to come back as a proofreader because they had so many errors in them. But I think I owe all that to Miss Springer, so thank you, Miss Springer. Miss Daugherty taught me fourth grade. That was another, it seemed like the even years I never had a girlfriend, so I didn't have one then. She showed us slides and pictures of places she'd been, places some of the other teachers had been. I guess it was a geography class. I don't know, because it was just fun. And in looking at those, she instilled in me a love for other places and other cultures. She gave me a desire to visit places I hadn't been before and meet other people who weren't like me. So I haven't hit all the states, but I have hit 38 of the states. Been to a couple of countries, but not that much. But I've done a lot more traveling than I guess most people I know. I even lived in Louisiana. That's a foreign country. So, I think Miss Daugherty gave me a sense of adventure. And so I'd like to say thanks to Mrs. Daugherty. In the 5th grade, Christy Sales broke up with me, and a kind lady named Mrs. McLean was my teacher. Main thing I remember about her class, she had laryngitis for a whole week, but she still came to school. She had me sit by her desk and she'd write down instructions, and I was kind of the leader that would tell the other kids what to do. It didn't make me very popular at recess, but it did give me confidence talking in front of other people, and maybe it instilled a little bit of leadership skills. So she helped give me confidence, so thank you, Mrs. McLean. And don't worry, I'm not going to go through all the subject areas in secondary school. I told you I wanted to give you 6 names. I've given you 5, so let me give you the 6th. My favorite teacher ever was a lady named Adele Clements. She taught me something that you think that's probably not anybody's favorite course. She taught me trigonometry and calculus my senior year at Hereford High School, another metropolis in the Panhandle of Texas. So I've kind of wanted, and there's just no doubt in my mind she was my favorite, but I've kind of scratched my head saying, why was she my favorite? I love math already. Trig and calculus takes it to a whole new level. I like the challenges her class gave me. I also came to love the fact, although not at first, that she started class as soon as the bell rang and she quit usually 2 or 3 minutes after the bell rang at the end of class. She pushed us. She pushed me. She used every minute of the class period every day. So I've thought what it was that made her special, and I think this morning I finally hit on it. It was kind of that joy of working hard and getting the right answer. That was a hard class, but I worked hard and I got the right answer, and there was a lot of fulfillment and joy in that. And it's not just a math thing looking back on it. I think that was a life lesson. Life is full of challenges, and it's so good when you work through those challenges and you look back and you say, I came up with the right answer. So I really would like today for y'all to join me in something. I'm not sure about those elementary teachers because we moved away right after I got out of elementary school, but I do know, since my parents still live in Hereford, Texas, that Miss Clements is still living there, and in fact, her mother and my grandmother are living in the same nursing home. I think her mother's 95 and my grandmother's 97. So, Carla, is this being recorded?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. I know that my mom is going to watch this, and I know that she's going to want to show it to Miss Clements. So, friends, if you would join me on the count of 3, I want all of you to say thank you, Mrs. Clements. Will you help me with that? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Mrs. Clements. So thank you, Miss Clements. You were my favorite teacher ever. So, who was the superintendent in Floyd-Ada? I don't know. Who was this Mr. or Mrs. R.C. Andrews that school was named after? That's a mystery to me. I don't know. There's probably a plaque that would tell me. Who was the chief financial officer in Floyd-Ada? I don't have a clue. Who was the CFO in Hereford? Beats me. Who was the superintendent in Hereford? Well, actually, I do know that because his daughter Angela broke up with me my sophomore year. His name was Roy Hartman. But my point is this, because you're probably wondering if there is a point to this. There is. 50 years from now, 60 years from now, 70 years from now, no one's going to remember who the interim superintendent in Plano was in the year 2015, but they're going to remember your names. Somebody will remember it just like I remember Miss Lewis, Miss Guffey, Miss Springer, Miss Darty, Miss McLean, and Miss Clements. Somebody's going to speak your name with a smile. They'll have a heart of thanksgiving because you made an impact and made a difference in their life. What a legacy you're leaving. So thank you for all you do. What an honor it is for me to be associated with such a great group of educators. Thank you.